In this section, we'll continue the review of tools and techniques for risk identification. Sometimes the best way to get good information is to sit with individuals and conduct an interview. This involves actual interviews with various people who can provide experience and expertise on specific risks. They may or may not be involved with the project. To get some ideas on how to get the discussion going is to ask questions that come directly from the work breakdown structure. As risks are identified, you may find that they stem from problems that people have encountered on past projects, or they may come from some sort of insider information where the individual knows something does not work well. Regardless, you may need to perform a root cause identification analysis to determine if there's a single reason for all the risks that were identified, or if they are indeed many separate risks. This technique uses a diagram that helps to clarify the analysis and its components. We'll look at this technique in much more detail later in this section. Strength and weakness analysis is also known as SWOT. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. The analysis steps through each of those perspectives against the project to identify risks. Another tool and technique is checklist analysis. This is where historical information can be reused to check for risks in a new project. It could be a risk breakdown structure from a previous project that's been converted to a checklist. New project risks can be added to the checklist for future projects, and it should be used in conjunction with other risk identification techniques. We've actually mentioned this technique before. It involves taking the assumptions from the project management plan and reviewing them to determine what the risks are if the assumptions turn out not to be true. It examines assumptions for their completeness and their consistency, and it tests them against two criteria. The first is the strength or validity of the assumption, and the second is the consequences that might impact the project if the assumption turned out to be false. Assumptions that are false should be evaluated and scored as risks. In the next section, we'll continue with tools and techniques for risk identification by reviewing the various diagramming techniques.